Nagorno-Karabakh. A land of mountains, monasteries, and memories. For decades, it was a battlefield, where maps were redrawn in blood and dreams of peace shattered again and again. But in 2025, the story took an unexpected turn. At the heart of it, Donald Trump. A figure better known for his brash politics and controversial presidency, now reshaping one of the world's longest-running ethnic conflicts. This is the story of Nagorno-Karabakh's journey from centuries of contested history to war and devastation, to a fragile peace that now bears Trump's name. Nagorno-Karabakh's story begins long before today's headlines. For Armenians, this is Artsakh, a land steeped in Christian heritage, dotted with ancient churches and cultural monuments. For Azerbaijanis, it is part of their national territory, tied to their history and identity. Over centuries, the region passed through the hands of the Persian Empire, the Ottomans, and finally the Russians. In the Soviet era, Joseph Stalin's decision in 1923 to place Nagorno-Karabakh inside Azerbaijan, despite its Armenian majority population, planted the seeds of future conflict. The region became the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Oblast under Soviet rule. The arrangement kept tensions under wraps, but resentment simmered quietly, waiting for the Soviet Union's collapse to unleash it. In the late 1980s, as the Soviet system crumbled, Armenians in Karabakh demanded unification with Armenia. Mass protests, violence, and pogroms against Armenians in Azerbaijan ignited open conflict. From 1988 to 1994, Armenia and Azerbaijan fought a brutal war. Tens of thousands were killed. Over 1 million people, Armenians from Azerbaijan and Azerbaijanis from Armenia and Karabakh, were displaced. By the time a Russian-brokered ceasefire was signed in 1994, Armenian forces controlled not just Nagorno-Karabakh but 7 surrounding Azerbaijani districts. For Armenians, it was liberation. For Azerbaijanis, occupation. The ceasefire froze the front lines, but it did not bring peace. For the next quarter century, Nagorno-Karabakh became one of the world's most intractable conflicts. The self-declared Republic of Artsakh governed itself, but no country including Armenia recognized it. International law, backed by the United Nations, affirmed it was Azerbaijani territory. The OSCE Minsk Group, led by Russia, France, and the US, tried to broker peace. Countless proposals came and went, offering autonomy, land swaps, or international peacekeepers. But mistrust ran deep. Every effort failed. Life on the front lines was harsh. Sniper fire, artillery exchanges, and occasional skirmishes took lives each year. For locals, the so-called frozen conflict was anything but frozen. In September 2020, the conflict reignited. Azerbaijan, armed with Turkish drones and Israeli technology, launched a full-scale offensive. Its oil wealth had been poured into modernizing its military. Armenia, relying on older Soviet-era systems, was outmatched. For 6 weeks, war raged. Drones hunted tanks. Missiles struck cities. Thousands died. By November, Azerbaijan had regained much of the land lost in the 1990s, including the symbolic city of Shusha. Russia brokered a ceasefire, deploying peacekeepers to patrol Nagorno-Karabakh. For Azerbaijan, it was triumph. For Armenia, it was trauma. For Nagorno-Karabakh's Armenians, the future looked uncertain. The uneasy peace held until September 2023. Then, Azerbaijan launched a lightning offensive. Within a day, Armenian separatist forces surrendered. Soon after, the self-proclaimed Republic of Artsakh announced its dissolution. By January 2024, it ceased to exist. Over 100,000 Armenians fled Nagorno-Karabakh, nearly its entire Armenian population. For the first time in 30 years, Azerbaijan regained full sovereignty over the region. The decades-long frozen conflict was over. But the cost was enormous, the erasure of Armenian life from Karabakh. By 2025, the battlefield was quiet. But the political future of the South Caucasus was unsettled. Russia, bogged down in its war in Ukraine, saw its influence wane. Turkey stood strong as Azerbaijan's closest ally. Iran worried about growing Western presence on its northern border. And then came an unexpected mediator, Donald Trump. In August 2025, at the White House, Trump hosted Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev. Against expectations, they signed a landmark peace agreement. The deal dissolved the long ineffective OSCE Minsk group, ending decades of fruitless talks. More dramatically, it unveiled the Trump route for international peace and prosperity, or TRIPP. This was a 27-mile transit corridor cutting across Armenia's Zanjir region, linking Azerbaijan proper to its Nakhchivan exclave. The U.S. gained 99-year development rights over the corridor, including railways, pipelines, and fiber optic infrastructure. Armenia retained sovereignty, but the U.S. became guarantor and developer. For Trump, it was a diplomatic triumph. For Armenia and Azerbaijan, it promised peace and economic growth. For Russia and Iran, it was a devastating loss of influence. The Trump agreement reshaped the geopolitics of the Caucasus. For Armenia, it offered a path to stability and Western integration after the trauma of losing Karabakh. For Azerbaijan, it cemented its territorial gains and opened new economic lifelines. For the United States, it was a bold entry into a region long dominated by Russia and Iran. For Turkey, it was a victory, aligning perfectly with its pan-Turkic vision of connecting the Turkic world. For Russia and Iran, it was a blow. Both saw their influence shrinking in a region they once controlled. But what comes next? The Trump peace has redrawn maps. But will it hold? Scenario 1. If Armenia and Azerbaijan cooperate, the TRIPP corridor could transform the Caucasus into a hub of trade, energy, and digital connectivity. Economic interests could outweigh old hatreds. Scenario 2. The mass exodus of Armenians from Karabakh remains an open wound. Without reconciliation, resentment could fuel unrest, even if large-scale war does not return. Scenario 3. Russia and Iran may seek to undermine U.S. influence. Turkey may expand its footprint. The Caucasus could once again become a chessboard for great power rivalry. Nagorno-Karabakh's story has always been about more than land. It is about identity, memory, and the fate of nations. For decades, it symbolized conflict. Today, in 2025, it symbolizes transformation. Through war, exile, and an unlikely peace deal brokered in Washington, Donald Trump's name is now etched into the history of the Caucasus. Whether his peace holds or collapses into yet another cycle of war remains to be seen. But one truth is certain. Nagorno-Karabakh has entered a new chapter. And the world will be watching to see how this story unfolds.